Have you ever wondered what makes a movie not allowed to exist? Not because it's bad, not because it's not worth the money, but because it's too scary, too real, too far from the moral boundaries that humans set. In the dark corners of cinema history, there are movies that were never shown in theaters, never sold, and even just owning them could get you arrested, fined, or tracked. These movies don't just make viewers tremble because of the blood and violence, but because they evoke something deeper, the dark nature of humanity itself. Welcome to Iceberg 37 Banned Movies 7 Levels, where we will slowly slide down each level of hell of banned, deleted, or cursed movies. We'll start with the famous ones, those that left audiences running out of theaters, vomiting in hallways, and work our way down to the films that no one knows are real, but that even governments have banned. You'll find films that were banned for life for depicting satanic rituals, cannibalism, child abuse, or scenes so gruesome that no one was sure they were acting. Directors who disappeared after making the only film they ever made, and movies that changed you forever, not because of their art, but because they burned images into your head that you'll never be able to erase. Warning: this iceberg is not for the faint of heart, and not for anyone looking for a lighthearted evening of entertainment. Once you start descending the depths, you'll never see cinema the same way again. So if you're ready, if you want to know what makes a movie so deeply scarred by collective fear, sit tight, turn off the lights, check your reflection behind you, and hit that subscribe button on Darkness Tells so you never miss another dark journey. And now, we begin the surface. Level 1, the surface level, the first door of horror. There are doors that should not be opened, and Level 1, the surface level, is where it all begins. The films that are banned, abandoned, considered too much to bear, but they are the beginning of a dark journey. The titles here are not the bloodiest works, nor the most shocking, but the fact that they are still watchable makes them all the more dangerous, because everyone is curious, and no one thinks that horror can come from a movie shown in theaters. 1. The Exorcist, 1973. When Faith is torn apart Reagan, a 12-year-old girl begins to have strange symptoms, whispering in an ancient language, objects flying around the room, and a non-human voice coming from her throat. As her body was twisted, stabbed, and self-destructed in the image of religion, the world was faced with a question: do we really understand evil? The Exorcist became a global phenomenon, not because of its technical brilliance, but because of the guilt, unease, and horror that followed. Banned in more than 40 countries, trailers were pulled for causing nausea. In the UK, it was banned from a home release for 11 years because people feared children would sneak in. But the scariest thing? Some people who saw it thought they were actually possessed, and at least 2 deaths from heart attacks in theaters have been recorded in the US. The Silent Waters of Death, Texas 2024. Lazar Nivko, a CrossFit athlete from Serbia, competes in the swimming competition at the 2024 Games in Fort Worth, Texas. Thousands of spectators are watching live. Everything seems normal until he disappears under the water. The camera records Lazar's slow movements, his eyes half open as if he has no more strength. When he begins to sink, no one notices, no screams, no alarms. The camera keeps rolling. The audience thinks he has finished the competition while he is dying at the bottom of the lake. His body is only found after 2 hours of diving. And the competition? It continues the next day, as if nothing had happened. Third Room of Ashes, 1979. Don Quintero, a man who was tortured by fire by his mother, built himself a heat-resistant room. Not to survive, but to burn people. He lured women into his house, drugged them, and took them into the room, where the flames consumed them. The 3-minute scene recorded screams, the sound of skin cracking, and the silence of despair. The film was labeled video nasty in the UK and was completely banned in France and Canada. The famous burning scene caused many viewers to seek psychological therapy because of the trauma, just because they thought it was a movie. Five. Evil Code, 1981. At a military school, Orphan Stanley finds an ancient Latin satanic manuscript in the basement of a chapel. He uses the school's computer to translate it and summons a 16th century evil spirit. From there, blood begins to flow, heads fall, hearts are ripped out. The devil possesses Stanley, manipulating him into carrying out a massacre with supernatural power. Banned in the UK for 13 years for fear of spreading Satanism, the film was heavily edited in the US to avoid an NC-17 rating. But the original version still circulates in underground circles, a whisper of curses quietly spread through bootleg drives. Final thoughts when you look at the screen. The screen looks back. The surface is a gentle and deceptive invitation. It gives you the feeling that things are still under control, but in reality, it is the first call of the abyss. When you watch these movies, you may laugh, you may cover your ears, you may say, it's just a movie. But remember, each of these images was once said shouldn't exist, and they still exist in your mind. After you turn off the screen, take a deep breath. We're just getting started. Level 2, the uncertainty level. When screens are no longer safe. As soon as the first door opens, viewers often whisper to themselves, I'm prepared. But level 2 is more than just a step. It's a lingering sense of unease, the moment when you realize that not everything captured by the camera is meant to last. This is where every image, even a few seconds of recording, is enough to haunt you for the rest of your life. 1. The Bridge Over Death, Louisville, 2024. Sidney Hartley, a container truck driver, is driving across the Clark Memorial Bridge when a semi-truck suddenly swerves into her lane to avoid a stalled streetcar. The impact sends the container swerving, crashing into the bridge railing. And then, all is quiet, except for the wind whistling through the cabin suspended in midair, exactly 100 feet above the cold Ohio River. The dash cam captured it all, the moment Sidney gripped the steering wheel, her eyes staring into the abyss in panic. She didn't know how long she had left, or if the bridge would become her grave. Below was a black, bone-chilling river of water, ready to swallow everything. 40 minutes passed. A firefighter named Bryce Carden risked his life by climbing down with a rope, attaching a safety harness to Sidney and pulling her up to safety. When asked about her feelings, Sidney only said one thing. I said goodbye to my son in overhead. On August 4, 2020, a white cloud of smoke billowed from the port of Beirut. People took out their phones to film, thinking it was just a normal warehouse fire, but they had no idea they were facing a deadly moment. 33 seconds later, a terrible explosion tore through the sky. 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate accumulated in the warehouse exploded, creating an explosion equivalent to 1.5 kilotons of TNT. Cameras from buildings, phones, and live streams captured the horrifying images. Shockwaves blew out windows for kilometers, crushed vehicles, and threw people into the air. 218 people died. More than 6,500 were injured. The city was covered in ash. The clips were shared millions of times, but no one knew that some of the people who filmed them never got to post the video. They were swept away by the blast wave along with their last memories on camera. 5. Death hole on the highway, Spain, 2023. The car was moving normally on the Madrid highway. The dashcam recorded the entire journey of the newlywed couple. They laughed and talked about their destination, a romantic honeymoon in Toledo. But suddenly the road in front of them collapsed. There was no warning, no signal. The road seemed to be sucked into the ground. The car was completely swallowed. The video only showed violent shaking, then blackness. The last sound was the wife's scream. When the rescue team arrived, the hole was more than 15 meters deep. 2 days later, the bodies were found, still holding hands. But the dashcam, located under the front seat, survived, and it is the only evidence of the moment when the ground rejected humans. 6. The Mirror Wall, Tokyo, Japan, 2022. In a shopping mall famous for its modern architecture, a 5-year-old girl plays hide-and-seek with her brother. CCTV footage shows her running into a hallway, looking into a glass wall, and then disappearing. Parents panic. Security forces are mobilized, but no camera records the girl leaving the hallway. The glass wall, when later checked, is just a normal reflective mirror. No gaps, no hidden doors. The only strange thing is, when the video is slowed down, a frame shows that the girl's reflection does not match the position of her real body. She turns around and smiles. Level 3. When the boundary between reality and fantasy disappears. These are not just accidental moments captured. These are stories that make you wonder, what would happen if you were the one standing there? What if you were the one staring straight into the lens before it recorded your final moments? The horror level is where the footage is no longer a tool for entertainment. It is a witness, a forgotten scream, a truth that no one dares to touch. Level 4, the level of despair, the moments when humans have no way out. These are no longer explainable accidents, no longer random moments of error. The level of despair is where all human limits are broken. Here, the pain does not end with a scream. It burns like a deep cut in the mind, lasting forever. The camera records, not for us to see, but for us to feel the absolute helplessness. And when the screen turns off, what remains is the feeling. There is no other way out but a painful end. 1. Silent Elevator, Toronto, Canada, 2022. Elena Morano, a 35-year-old accountant, works a late shift at the 188 office building in downtown Toronto. At 11:47 p.m., she steps into the 21st floor elevator to go home. The elevator camera captures the exhausted girl carrying a bag of groceries and her phone, but when the doors close, the elevator stops moving. Elena rings the alarm. No one answers. She tries calling. No signal. The lights in the elevator start to flicker, then go dead. The camera switches to infrared mode. Elena begins to panic. She bangs on the door, screams, but no one answers. She cries for 3 hours, then exhausts herself. At 4 a.m., she uses her phone to record a final message. "If anyone finds it, tell my mom I'm sorry. I've been working too hard. I just want to go home." She was found 14 hours later, unconscious, curled up in the corner of the elevator. Although she survived, Elena never returned to work. She was diagnosed with chronic panic disorder and lost the ability to communicate in closed spaces. The video, although bloodless and deathless, is still considered one of the most chilling because it clearly shows that despair does not need blood to kill a person. 2. Apartment 704, Berlin, Germany, 2023. A mysterious disappearance at the Parkhaven apartment building has shocked the online community. A young woman named Alina Schreiber, 24, was recorded entering her apartment, number 704, at 7:12 p.m. on Friday, but no one has seen her since. The hallway camera did not record Alina leaving the house. The door did not open. Friends could not contact her. 3 days later, the police broke down the door. Inside, the apartment was empty except for a live-streaming camera that was still running. The screen showed a room, but not room 704. It was somewhere darker, damp, and windowless. In the middle of that room, Alina sat. She sat huddled, her back to the camera, wearing the same clothes she had been wearing the day she disappeared. She didn't move, just breathed softly. Every few minutes, a metallic clanking sound could be heard from somewhere, but the camera couldn't adjust its angle. When the police reviewed the live stream, it suddenly shut down and couldn't be restarted. To this day, no one knows where the room is, and Alina remains missing while present. 3. Turning Water Lake, Finland, 2021. In the fall of 2021, a group of 4 young people decided to camp by Kurankoski Lake, a place that locals warned was a dishonest water area. A phone in the group recorded the final video with the description, "Game Midnight Courage." In the video, a member named Mika steps into the water following a challenge. Wade into the middle of the lake and shout his name 3 times. Mika does. He laughs loudly, shouting, "I am Mika, the Invincible." Then his voice echoed back, but it didn't sound like his voice. It was a muffled, choked sound, repeating the exact same words. Mika turned his head. The water on the lake was calm, but then a hand as black as sewage water shot up, pulling him away in an instant. The others screamed, ran away, but the video recorded them turning their heads to look back and saw a figure standing in the middle of the lake, right where Mika disappeared, not moving, faceless, just standing there until the camera fell to the ground. Mika's body was never found. Kurankoski Lake has been off-limits ever since, but people living around the lake still occasionally hear voices calling out from the water, "I am Mika, the Invincible." 4. The Last Interview, Los Angeles, USA, 2022. The video went viral on TikTok with the title, "What Happened in Office Number 12?" A woman named Camilla Ross, 29, went for an interview at a small tech company. The security camera recorded her entering at 10:02 a.m., smiling happily at the receptionist, and being invited into interview room number 12. But 15 minutes later, the door still did not open. The receptionist called in. No one answered. When they broke down the door, the room was empty. No Camilla, no chair, no table. Just a plain white wall, faintly reflecting the silhouette of the person who opened the door. No one understood what had happened. The hallway camera did not record Camilla stepping out. 10 minutes later, the power system of the entire floor went out, and when it was rebooted, the camera data was erased. Only one image remained. Camilla standing in the doorway of room number 12, looking straight into the lens, smiling. The despair floor, when the camera is a mirror, reflecting the darkness within us. Each story on this floor is not simply events. They are chronicles of crushed emotions, of torn realities. They all have one thing in common. The victims were not only robbed of life, but also of the right to reason. No one knows what really happened. Only, they didn't come back. And the scariest thing is, the camera keeps recording. It sees everything. It keeps everything. And sometimes it shows you what you shouldn't see. Level 5. The level of the torn entity. When your body becomes stiff as a safe, there are videos that after watching them you can go back to your life, take a deep breath, and forget immediately. There are videos that you have to stop, turn off the screen, wash your hands, and ask yourself if you just watched real. But there is another kind of video, one that takes you to the edge of pain, where the fear is not just in the mind but touches every piece of skin, every fingertip, where you witness the torn entities. 1. The Flight of the Dead, Andes, 2024 Flight G2931 from Santiago de Chile to La Paz, Bolivia, carries 49 passengers, including a troupe of local musicians. Everything starts out peacefully until the final signal from air traffic control is abruptly cut off. Video footage from a young passenger named Valeria is later discovered, still intact on her dented phone. The footage captures increasingly violent screaming and shaking. As the plane enters a blizzard, the cabin lights flicker with each vibration. Suddenly, the window glass shatters. Part of the fuselage is torn away. The person sitting next to Valeria is sucked out as if torn from the ground by an invisible hand. The camera captures horrifying images. The body is stretched, the arm is torn off the body like a broken toy. Pieces of skin, hair, and clothing float in the cold air. All that was left was darkness, the sound of the wind whistling through the void, and then silence. When the search team arrived 2 days later, they found only body parts, most of them not intact. The human body, at that altitude, at that pressure, becomes as fragile as glass. 2. The Underground Room, Munich, Germany, 2023. A young couple rents an old apartment in a suburb of Munich. While renovating the house, they discover a locked metal door behind a cement wall in the basement. Despite being warned by neighbors that the place used to be a bomb shelter from World War II, they decide to film their exploration. The video starts like any other exploration clip, but after they break the lock and enter, the atmosphere changes. The sound becomes distorted. In the video, the wife, named Hannah, says she feels like she is being watched. The wall at the end of the basement has a crack where they discover what looks like human skin. Not dry, not rotten. The skin is moist, with fine hairs. When they touch it, the lights go out. In the last 5 minutes of the video, the camera flickers, capturing disjointed images. Hannah hanging upside down from the ceiling, the skin on her back peeling off in patches. The husband screamed, and then the sound of flesh being torn apart. No one survived. The leaked video was dubbed Munich skin tape. One investigator commented, "I've seen people being torn apart, but I've never seen someone whose skin was peeled off and still alive for so long." 3. Bottomless elevator, Seoul, South Korea, 2022. A college student went missing after entering a newly built dormitory. The elevator had been out of service for weeks due to maintenance, but he was somehow caught on security cameras entering at 2 a.m. Video from a ground floor camera shows the elevator doors opening with no cabin inside, just a dark void. He walked in as if he didn't see it. There was no sound, but you could clearly see the smile on his face before disappearing. 2 days later, maintenance workers inspected the elevator shaft. They found a piece of human skin, no bones, no blood, like a carefully removed leather jacket. A fingerprint check confirmed that it was the missing student, but from then on, the elevator would occasionally open automatically at 2 a.m., with no one inside, just darkness and the sound of wind. The dissection room, Cairo, Egypt, 2021. A group of medical students decided to go big by entering the abandoned cold storage room in Cairo University Medical School, which used to be a storage room for practice bodies. One of them brought a chest camera to record as a souvenir. At first, there were only old mummies, dry and motionless, but when they reached refrigerator number 17, they found a body that looked fresh. No records, no labels. The body was still warm. When they turned back, the body was gone. The video began to record blurry images, dark hallways, shadows passing by. One by one, the members disappeared. The last one, the student with the camera, was dragged back into the cold room. His screams echoed through the lens, then stopped. The final shot, a gray hand tapping the lens as if saying goodbye. None of the group returned. The school denied it. The security cameras were wiped. But the 13-minute clip was leaked to a dark web forum. A forensic doctor who saw the video said there were only 2 options. Either the student was torn apart piece by piece, or he dismembered himself in a panic. The torn realm, when the flesh no longer belongs to us. In this layer, all notions of the human body are crushed. There is no form, no boundaries, only the horror of disintegration, both physical and mental. The entities are torn apart, not just by claws or accidents, but by the very distortion of this world. The camera simply does what it was created to do, record it all. But when we watch, we choose to witness the irreversible and maybe the next one. Level 6, the soul level. Left behind when death is not the end. There are souls that refuse to leave. They are not erased by time, not buried by the sand. They exist, groaning between the cold walls, waiting for someone to step in the wrong way, to tell the forgotten story, or to drag that person down with them. 1. The Last Record, Portland, USA, 2021. A musician named Sam Reynolds decides to return to his family's old wooden house in the suburbs of Portland to complete his first recording. The house has been abandoned since 1998 after the mysterious death of his sister, an unexplained hanging in the basement studio. Sam brings an analog recorder with him, recording all night. He plays the piano solo, singing his sister's unfinished lyrics. But on the seventh take, strange sounds appear, tapping on wood, whispering intermittently between verses. When slowed down, a woman's voice is heard, "Don't let it end up like me." That night, Sam calls his girlfriend, leaving a panicked message. "I saw it. It was sitting on the chair watching me play. It has no eyes anymore." The next morning, he is found face down on the piano, his eyes slit open with his fingernails. The record is still playing. At the end of the recording, a female voice sings for him. 2. White Shadow in the Nursing Home, Tokyo, Japan, 2020. The Kaide nursing home in the middle of Tokyo is famous for its quiet, peaceful atmosphere. But since May 2020, there have been a steady stream of elderly people died at exactly 3:03 a.m., a total of 7 people in 1 month. The surveillance cameras were ordered to check. All the deaths occurred in room 207. The cameras recorded a strange phenomenon. At exactly 3 a.m., the lights dimmed. At 3:02 a.m., a white, blurry figure appeared at the head of the bed. It didn't move, just stood there. And 1 minute later, the person in the bed struggled and then became still. A nurse named May tried to sleep in room 207 again. That night, she attached an infrared camera to her shirt. At 2:59 a.m., the video showed her trembling slightly. At 3:01 a.m., her lips moved as if she were talking, even though no one was there. At 3:03 a.m., the camera fell to the ground. In the final frame, a white face, no nose, no mouth, looking straight into the lens. May was found the next day, eyes so wide open that her eyelids were torn, her heart stopped, but no signs of injury. 3. The Never-Ending Staircase, Prague, Czech Republic, 2022. A video went viral on Reddit. A group of college students explored an old building that was once a Soviet Secret Service headquarters. In the video, they filmed one of the members, Lena, walking down the stairs to the basement and disappearing. The group thought she was joking, but when they called down, there was no answer. They went down to look for her, and the video continued to record an endless hallway with moldy wallpaper and flickering lights. They heard footsteps, and Lena saying, "I'm here, but I can't find my way up." They walked for nearly 4 hours, but never saw the stairs turn back. When they were rescued by the police the next day, they couldn't find Lena. But in the video, there is a moment. A pale arm clings to the edge of the screen, swipes along the camera, and then disappears. The staircase is permanently sealed by the authorities. 4. The Mirrorless Cafe, Oslo, Norway, 2021. A Norwegian vlogger documents his exploration of an abandoned cafe called Reflexion. Rumor has it that it was once a hangout for mirror performers, until the entire band disappeared one night, leaving nothing but handprints on the mirror. In the video, a vlogger named Einar walks into the cafe. Strangely enough, all the mirrors have been removed, only the frames remain. He jokes that the cafe is afraid of reflecting souls, but as he sits down at the table, the camera begins to record himself, but not from the front, from the back. An identical Einar, but with all black eyes, stands next to the empty mirror behind him. The video ends with Einar screaming, running out of the bar, the camera falling. A month later, his account is still posting new videos. But the person in the video is not Einar. The appearance, the voice, the eyes, everything is a little off, like an imperfect copy learning to be him. The Child Without a Name, Vancouver, Canada, 2019. A couple adopts a girl, about 5 years old, abandoned in a city park. The girl has no name, doesn't speak, only buries her face in a pillow and scribbles in black ink on the wall at night. They name her Alice and start filming her healing journey to share with the community. After 2 weeks, the videos take a turn for the bizarre. In one 7-minute clip, Alice stands in front of a mirror, unblinking, muttering, "Not me, not me, not me." When she returns, the wall behind her has a new line. The child is really dead. Another video recorded on the last night shows Alice entering her parents' room. The night vision camera captures the 2 adults, sitting up straight, eyes wide open, unresponsive. Alice whispers in their ears. The next morning, they are both found, their eyes gouged out with a blunt object. The girl is gone. But when the police check the cameras, Alice is nowhere to be seen. The soul's remaining level. The traces that never disappear. This is the level of repeated memories, where time does not pass and souls do not dissolve. They do not need blood. They do not need flesh. They need a look, an observation, a name repeated, a video replayed late at night, and just like that, they live on through us. These videos are not just footage. They are mirrors, reflecting the fear that exists deep within us, that maybe a part of our soul has been left behind somewhere. Level 7, the unknown level. When things that shouldn't exist continue to live. There are tapes that can't be stopped. There are places that can't be named. There are moments that repeat themselves like cracks in time forced open. The unknown level doesn't belong to our world. It's the intersection of death, distorted memories, and betrayed realities. What you're about to read isn't a story. It's a crack. It's evidence of something that shouldn't be touched. 1. The Lost Flight, North Atlantic, 2023. On July 19, 2023, Flight FL-173 from New York to Dublin carrying 174 passengers disappeared from radar at 3:17 a.m. No distress signal, no collision detected, just gone. However, 3 days later, a recording from the black box was recovered, and the strange thing starts here. The video shows the plane shaking violently for several minutes before losing contact. The captain repeatedly asks air traffic control, "We're flying through dark clouds, but there's no radar showing it." Then a whisper is heard in the cabin, "You shouldn't be here." From that point on, every passenger in the video stands up. One by one, without speaking, without blinking, they walk straight towards the cockpit. A flight attendant shouts, "They're not them anymore." Then the camera shakes, and finally a child's laughter is heard over the radio. This is a one-way street. The black box was later discovered in the home of a man in Iceland who claims not to have left the country in 20 years. 2. Online game Mouth.x, Singapore, 2022. A popular streamer in Singapore named Jason tried downloading an unnamed game on any platform. The only file that was recorded was Mouth.exe. People assumed this was an ARG, a virtual reality game with fantasy elements, but his live stream showed that this was something else entirely. On the main screen, there was only a picture of a mouth, continuously uttering meaningless words. When Jason pressed start, the game asked, "Are you willing to trade silence for the truth?" He smiled, selected yes. The screen darkened, then the sound of heavy breathing began to sound. In the second stage, the game asked to turn on the webcam, and when he turned it on, the audience saw, behind Jason, in the dark, a shadow about 3 meters tall crawling along the ceiling with no eyes, just a wide-open mouth that extended all the way to the neck. The more Jason played, the more he trembled, sobbing, saying, "I heard my mother's voice, but my mother died in 2018. The live stream ended abruptly when the camera was pulled to the floor. The video is reduced to the sound of chewing and a single sentence that repeats for 7 hours. The mouth never lies, but it doesn't need to tell the truth. Third meeting recording, Milan, Italy, 2021. At a law firm in Milan, a security camera records a meeting at 9 a.m. on October 12, 2021. A group of 9 people, including the department head, begin to present their progress. But after 17 minutes, the video shows signs of being predicted. Every word they say is subtitled before they speak. At 25 minutes, all the lights go out. During those 4 seconds of darkness, there are the sounds of papers being flipped, shoes being dragged, and a voice asking, "How are you still alive?" When the lights come back on, only one employee is left sitting motionless, frozen like a statue. The rest disappear from the video. There is no sign of them getting up, leaving, or being dragged away. Just not there. The sole survivor, Sophia, was found 2 days later in the basement elevator, still holding a note that read, "We never really existed." The mailbox with no address, Cork, Ireland, 2020. A woman named Emily Finn reports receiving a package with no return address, simply stating, "For the person who dreamed of the third eye." Inside was a VHS tape with the only note, "Only play at 2:11 a.m." Emily, curious, videotaped herself watching the tape to post on her paranormal blog. On the tape, a little girl is seen staring at the screen for 4 minutes without blinking. She then says, "You're watching me, but I'm really your memory." Then the footage rewinds to Emily herself, but from outside the window as if someone had filmed her in the present moment. Emily runs away. The video falls to the ground. When the police arrive, they find the tape, showing Emily standing in front of a mirror, but the person in the mirror is turned away and waving.